with clay because I figured it's a tool that has a learning curve to it. And what we're going to attempt to do is we're going to go through the Clay University together and walk you through how you can start building out in Clay. And this is going to be a series of videos and tutorials of long form content, short form content that just allows you to explore and learn with the tool. Without any further ado, let's start.
Hey there, welcome to Clay. Probably the number one question that we get in spite of the beautiful website, the resources, and the Slack community is, what exactly does Clay do? And so that's what this video is here to help you understand the different component pieces of the process that we've built Clay for and the multitude of different ways that you could use Clay. At its core, we've built a bunch of the fundamental Lego blocks that you might need to do the boring, manual, tedious parts of any outreach process, whether that's finding lists of people, getting their contact information, thinking about the research that you want to do to personalize the way that you're reaching out, or sending those actual emails, syncing all of that wonderful data back to your CRM. Most people have different tools for each step at that process, and then the more complex your operation gets, typically the more tools you have within each of those categories, and then you're managing a dozen plus tools across your entire, what used to be, simple communication process. So we saw that problem and decided to help people like you automate all the boring parts so you can focus on the best parts, which are the human-to-human relationships that you're building. So what does that mean? At its core, we like to think about Clay in sort of four broad categories. Category number one, importing and gathering that data. So you can import, gather data from a multitude of sources. You can start with a search. You could scrape websites using the Clay Chrome extension. You can have a CSV. You can get it from your CRM. You can pull from all sorts of different sources. The three main categories that I like to think about for this are the three S's: scrape, search, sync. So you can imagine the multitude of ways you could get started in Clay just here. And then once you actually have a list of companies or a list of people, there's a number of things you might want to do to actually get more information about those companies and those people. If you have people, you almost always want some sort of contact information, otherwise there's no way to get in touch with them. That's step number two, enrich. And you can see here we waterfall across providers, bring together all of your best tools and help them work really well with each other. If it's companies, you might want to get some of your firmographic data like revenue, headcount, amount of money raised, company description, mission, industry, size of various teams. The list really just goes on. It depends on your use case and what you're doing for your outbound or inbound process. And then once you've gotten all that data that helps you target and helps you actually reach out, there's often this additional third step that almost everyone we see today does manually, which is research. That research is often manual Google searches. It's looking through exclusive APIs. It's trying to figure out what are the relevant details you can use to really make an email or a message stand out. And so we've also built a bunch of different tools to help people bring that research into a more automated fashion. You can use AI, you can automate a Google search, you can use our own Clayagent, which is a combination of an AI agent that will search the web for you. And you can look at news, get personal information, scrape social media profiles. Again, the possibilities are truly limitless. And then once you've done all of that research, that enrichment data, you're ready to start actually writing the copy that you want to send. So if you're doing a cold outbound email to someone, you might want to reference a personal interest, you might want to reference their previous job experience, you might want to reference the fact that they speak a second language on their LinkedIn profile. And so you can use AI in really structured, templated ways to create what we call AI snippets. Because let's be real, AI is not going to get to the point where it will do a great job of automating your entire email. What it can do is take your little hypotheses about the ways to personalize those emails and then turn that into really powerful text that's either ready to go or ready to be minorly edited by somebody on your team. And so now we've gone through bringing your data into Clay, step one, enriching your data with the basic information you need to target and scope appropriately for step two, researching those prospects for step three, and then finally using AI to draft all of those messages, step four. Finally, step five is that once you've got all this beautiful data and all this beautiful copy in one place, you then want to send it somewhere, or typically send it to someone. Almost always, we see people doing that in two ways. You're sending it to your CRM of choice. That might be HubSpot, it might be Salesforce, it might be Copper, Pipedrive, you name it. You can check all of the CRMs that we natively export to here. Or you might actually want to send it to an email sequencer. So you can send it to Smartly, to Instantly, to Outreach, again, the list really does go on. And then for anyone who's using one of the million tools out there that we haven't yet built a native connection with, that's exactly what we've designed this HTTPI feature for, so you can connect to any tools that are meant to speak with your systems. I'm not going to dive into any of the specifics of all of these different parts of the process just yet. That's what the rest of these videos and guides are for, but hopefully you have a little bit of a better idea of the ways that you might be able to put together the building blocks we've given you to form the beautiful sculptures of communication that you want to make for your customers. Thanks.
So if you saw that video with me, you'd likely notice that what it does is it's an integrator service. It integrates really well with all the data sources that you already have. Let's say you already paid for Apollo.ai, you've already paid for Lucia. One, it can increase your data coverage because it allows you to search using credit system inside of Clay. So you can validate the existing emails you have. For the ones where it's like a bad email, you can use the other data providers to find a more targeted email. That's the biggest benefit that I saw. The second thing, like you've seen it, it can remove the repetitive and automated tasks. It can remove the repetitive tasks of researching that a SDR or an AE has to go through. And depending on how good or how well you can write those prompts or write within those sections, you can actually get pretty decent email copy at the end of it. Got it. So let's do this one by one. We're talking about importing. Let's do this one by one. Let's go through all the ways to import, and then you'll be amazed as to everything that can do. So let's say I start from find companies from LinkedIn. I fill this out, and let's say we're just going to randomly do some things. And let's say let's see. This is a pretty horrible search that I've done, but let's see if it works. As in, let's start with software development. Hopefully now we'll get somewhere. Nice. Now importing them is going to be absolutely free. You can continue for free, and that's how you can import using the find companies table. That's it. You've got all of this data for free. Now you can go ahead and reach out to people within these companies later on, but let's move on to the next stages of how you can import in Clay. You can import companies using jobs. So let's say I'm looking for companies that are hiring for software engineers, and I want them to be either in United States or Canada, and I want them to be hiring remotely. So I'm gonna add this, and it's gonna be 3 days because I want to maximize on the intent signal. So I've got 6, that's fine. We can also increase this to make it 7 to see how many we get. But that's the starting point. You can start to see how you can scrape your leads or get your leads. And software engineers. Oh, my bad. I figured out what I've done here. By the way, this is a quick hack in case you don't want to erase it completely. Hit just the backslash and you can change it like this. Engineer. So little things like this make a lot of difference. Where it said S, software engineers, and a software engineer, it can make a world of difference. See, last time I got 7 results, and now I'm getting 3000 results. If you click on import to new table, you can get basic thing for done. Now let's see some other ways. You can find local businesses using Google Maps. Let's say, so I live in Goa. Oh, my bad. So you're supposed to write it in here, Goa, India. Cool. And then let's make it Nerul, Goa, India. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, this feels like I understand this. Yeah, and I want this area. Let's say I want to target. Let's say I'm trying to find a home, right? And let's say I'm trying to find real estate agents in here. So I'll put this as my map and look for real estate. And number of results, what's it, 200. New blank table. And I've heard that Outscraper is also really good for this sort of stuff. You can also scrape using Outscraper and then import. So you see Google Maps Scraper. You can use Google Maps Scraper to get this data. All right, so we now have phone numbers, we have their addresses, and we also have some websites. If I want to do everything online, I can click a filter on this column. Website is not empty. And that way I can only start my search with these 26 companies. Now, if I call them and be like, hey, I'm looking for a home, I'm looking for these specific locations, would you have something for me? That makes my life infinitely easier. So little sort of creative ideas you can try out. And let's see their projects. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yes, see for rent, exactly. All types, let's say apartments and flats. And see, Goa, good. Great. A little on the steepest side with 1,40,000 rupees. But you get the idea. It makes my life easier by automating this, or let's say letting Clay do this for me. Wait, let's just delete the last one, and otherwise it tends to get messy. Yes, by the way, if you delete anything by mistake, you can go onto trash and you can hit recover. Like if you hit this, it'll recover it. So no harm, no foul. Let's do another one. Find company with store leads. Now I don't have an account, but this okay. I think store leads is useful to finding e-commerce companies, and you can, yeah, that's how you can use the e-commerce platform. Okay, let's try this out for free, by the way. Query, I want to find essential oils. I want to find companies that sell essential oils on Shopify. I don't know anything else about this. Let's say I only want to search in India. And filters, let's say city. Goa. A new blank table. So we have 29,503. Okay. Well, then we need to find a more generic. Essential oils. Oh, coffee, yeah. E-commerce platform, Shopify. Country, India. And let's say 5. Continue. The blank table. Search result found, search result found. Let's look at what it's found for me. It's found the city, it's found the company name, and it's found domain, but no LinkedIn profile. How come? Okay, I know for sure that these are not entirely coffee. Yeah, it's... Yeah. We should have been more accurate. Delete. And delete. Hey. Okay. Let's see if they sell coffee first and foremost. Maybe we're dismissing it too early. Yes, this is finally, this is one relevant. Yeah. Finally, we get one relevant solution in the top 5 searches. So they use Shopify to host their, and they have coffee mugs. Okay, so next time we'll have to use more keywords like specialty coffee or Arabica or something like that. Cool. Let's create new and then import companies from HubSpot. Unfortunately, I don't have HubSpot, but we can use that. And I haven't tried Loxo before. Let's try Loxo. What's a Loxo list? Oh, it's another CRM, okay. And it makes sense. I've never worked with recruitment companies, so I'm unaware of this. Oh, nice. And it looks like I can't use Clay credits for this because it's a CRM tool. And let's say GitHub. If you're reaching out for software engineers and stuff, you can use that. Search results, leads from Phantom Buster. Let's try this. I've never used this before. Let's look for dApps. Let's say I'm looking for dApps on the Ethereum blockchain. I'm looking for 50. Let's say transactions, and I'm looking for marketplaces. Top 50 marketplaces on Ethereum sorted by transactions, that is number of transactions going through them. Let's see. Done. This is step 2. After you have the LinkedIn profile, you can find stuff like this, and you can use the filter section to filter within the specific view that you have. This is a default view by like default. You can duplicate this view and set up searches according to what you want. Oh no. So ideally I'd like to be able to edit this and get stuff done here. So if it was too fast for you, if you click on the plus icon, you can add in new sources, and that's how you are able to do everything without creating new tables again and again. Let's say I'm looking for, let's go with Solana now. Metric to sort by, volume now. Let's say category games. And in the last 7 days. Perfect. Why is it a bad request? Okay, let's forget about that. Now that we have an overarching idea of what all we can do, let's explore one by one. So feedback for this, have a next category. It was fine. Have a button at the end of the tutorial to go on to the next lesson. To make lesson more structured. Whoops. Email address is ishan@thecoldmessage.com. Thank you.
All right, so when you're getting started with Clay, there are typically two scenarios. In the first scenario, you already have a list of companies, whether this is coming from directly your CRM, a CSV that you may just have offhand, or any sort of other database that you want to just pull those companies in to enrich and find people with. In the other scenario, you actually want to use Clay to find net new companies. And if you click on New Table, you can see all of the places where you can find net new companies. So we have find companies from LinkedIn. We have finding jobs from LinkedIn, which is a really good way to identify companies who are currently hiring for specific jobs. We have finding local businesses using Google Maps. This is better for companies who may not have a LinkedIn presence, but do exist on Google Maps. Finding companies with store leads, particularly a good database. If you're looking for e-commerce companies, you also have the ability to filter by a lot of e-commerce specific technologies and filters. And then, like I mentioned earlier as well, you can connect to HubSpot, import from a CSV, or import from Salesforce, Phantom Buster, etc. But this section is primarily dedicated to people who have an ICP in mind, but have not yet built a company list. Thanks.
If you notice in the last, he said, don't have a lead list, but have an ICP in mind. You need to ideally have an idea of the companies you want to reach out to, because then you can take advantage of all the filters that are out there. If you don't know what you're looking for, you're ideally not going to find good companies. And targeting and having a good list is essential. I'm telling you from experience, if you have a decent performing copy and a really, really good targeted list, it's going to outperform any other copy that has the best offer if the targeted list isn't there. Yep, we've done this. We just went over this. Nice. So we've done this. Let's go on to using LinkedIn to find companies.
All right, so if you're looking to source net new companies, inside of Clay, just click on New Table, and here you can choose the source for building your Clay list. Now, in some cases, you may already have companies, but in this case, we're trying to find net new companies. And so we're going to find companies from LinkedIn. So these filters are similar to what you'll see on SalesNav. The benefit, though, is as opposed to pulling a list of, let's say, 200 companies and having to copy and paste each of those LinkedIn company URLs one by one, you can actually import all of these companies in bulk and work with them in a Clay table. So let's say we were looking for companies between 200 and 1,000 employees who specifically have AI in their description. We're looking United States wide. You can also limit the number of companies from the search. So if you only wanted 100 or 200 companies to start, you could limit this. If you leave this blank, it will pull the max number per search, depending on what plan you're on. And when we click preview companies, this is going to show us just the first 50 companies that are found. So you'll see in all of the descriptions, we've got AI here, which tells us, okay, that's a great list to start with. And from there, we can just say import 1,500 companies to a new table. Now you have the ability to optionally toggle on some enrichments that you know you want to add. So for example, if you knew you wanted every company to be fully enriched on LinkedIn, you could toggle this on. I'm going to leave this off for right now. If you don't want to spend credits on 1,500 rows for each enrichment, then I would leave this off. But once you click continue and run, you'll see a table is generated and all of these companies are pulled in, which again, you can work with in bulk now. And so if you wanted to then find out their revenue, tech stack, open jobs, or further qualify these companies, you could simply do that by adding an enrichment to the table. Thanks so much.
All right. So let's do this. We talked about, by the way, you want to know why it's not getting anything here? Because there's no value attached to it. You can, if you want to attach a value, just click on the backslash, click on imported companies, add in name. That's it. And the names will get populated. Then for email, do we have any emails? No, we don't. So we can change it to URL. You can get the LinkedIn URL here. Or we could have already done that. No harm, no foul. LinkedIn URL companies. And we can change this to domain. Actually, it's going to be less than useless to have this company ID unless you use Sales Navigator. So let's put domain. Yeah. Company domain. Done. Let's see what else is there. So we used Google Maps to find, and it was pretty useful.
So if you typically market to local businesses, you may have already seen they oftentimes do not actually have a presence on LinkedIn. So just for an example, right? Let's say you were looking for all chicken sandwich stores in an area. My favorite is Main Chick Hot Chick in San Diego. So if we look up Main Chick, you'll see they've got a website here. And then if we look up their LinkedIn profile, you'll see there's no company LinkedIn profile. And so whenever you're looking for companies specifically, in Clay, we have our find companies from LinkedIn source, but if that company does not have a LinkedIn profile, you will not be able to find them. Now, the tough thing is the person actually does. The owner of Main Chick does have a LinkedIn profile, but it's not connected to any company domain or any company page, which is why you'll see this logo right here is just kind of empty. It has this default image. So instead of sourcing companies on LinkedIn, I'm instead going to source companies for Google Maps. So for Google Maps, first choose your location. So I'm going to do San Diego, California. And then for the search query, let's do hot chicken sandwiches. And for number of results, by default, if you leave this blank, it will do 200 per search. For myself, I'm just going to limit this to 30 for right now. And we'll click continue. And then we'll add this to a new blank table. So you do have the ability to run multiple searches on the same table. But I'm going to start a new table, and let's call this hot chicken sandwich SD. Right? So beautiful. You'll see Main Chick, Hot Chick has showed up actually at the top, probably because they aren't the best. And we get all of the information about the company. So address, phone number, reviews, rating, website, description, and more. Now, if we wanted to then build on this table, down here you'll see this import button. We could click import, find local businesses using Google Maps. This time, let's do New York City, and we'll do hot chicken sandwiches again. And spelling rough there. And then I'm actually going to leave this blank and pull the max number of results. So when we click submit, you'll see towards the bottom of this list, we will start to get more and more results, this time all New York based. So this I've seen actually be particularly good if you are ever looking for electricians, plumbers, retail stores in your local area. From here, you can also find the founder. So for example, for Magic Hochick, you probably would want to find Kevin. So we are also able to then identify the CEO or founder and return their email addresses. But for the first step of just finding these local businesses, Google Maps is a great option. Thanks.
Nice. This actually is really useful. So if you're a digital nomad, you can just create a free trial version of Clay, and whenever you're traveling, you need access to three things, right? You need a place to work, you need a place to live, and you need a place to be able to go and work out. So you can just have this list of places that you can call, message, email, and be like, hey, I'm going to be there for a week. Is it okay if I jump in? I'll play just for the day. And if they have access to that sort of stuff, you can use this for it. I'm just thinking on a personal level how I would use it, but I'm pretty sure you can use it to get leads like Matthew just showed here, and then find companies from your CRM. Right now I haven't connected any CRM, but
All right, so in this video, I'll show you how you can connect your CRM directly to Clay so that you can pull in companies from your CRM on a recurring basis. So before I show you how to do this, there's a few main reasons to do this. First is that you can set up the source to sync every 24 hours. So for example, if you built a HubSpot list and the HubSpot list was dynamic, maybe every day you had new qualified companies entering that list. Every day, those new companies would also enter your Clay table and automatically be enriched. Now, a second reason to use this HubSpot source, a lot of times we hear from users, they have a really large CRM with, let's say, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of companies, but there's data missing from some or all of those companies. So you may have company domains for 50%, but you may be missing it for the other 50%. Or you may have company domains, but you're missing company LinkedIn profiles for all of them. This source is a really easy way for you to begin the process of consistently pulling in your companies, enriching and updating them in your CRM. So here, I'm just going to show you how to connect to CRM and pull in a list of companies. If you click New Table, and then under the company source, you'll see we've got HubSpot here. If you scroll down, we also have Salesforce and Close. I'll show this with HubSpot, but in this documentation, you'll see how to do this with Salesforce as well. But when you click on Import Companies from HubSpot, you'll see you just need to add an account. And when you click Continue, you'll be able to pull in any company lists that you have built in HubSpot. So I'm going to use this test list that I have built. And when I click Continue and create a new blank table, it is going to establish HubSpot as the source. And it's going to update every 24 hours. And so here, if I click on clay.com, you'll see that I actually get access to all of the properties from the HubSpot file, the HubSpot record. And if I want to start adding any of these properties to my table, such as the address, right, or the domain, I can just click Add as Column, create column, and then they'll be added right here. All right, and once you have all of these companies in a table, then you can begin the process of enriching either all of them or specific ones, depending on however you want to set up those formulas. The process is pretty much the same for Salesforce as well, but again, it's a great way to begin syncing your CRM with Clay and eventually syncing the Clay data back to your CRM. Thanks.
Yeah, that's going to be super helpful for you, because not only is it bi-directional, that is, you can pull in data from your CRM, you can also push data into your CRM. So if you've got the table live, let's say you have auto update columns on, every time someone enters into your CRM, be that through filling a form on a marketing campaign or visiting your website and clicking on I need more information, you can start to enrich it using Clay, and you can have your SDRs or account executives reach out to them as quickly as possible. Because timing is key, right? When they have interest, when they're looking at options to solve their problems, that's when you ideally want to reach out to them. Because the person who reaches out the fastest is often what the customer ends up going with, because they need that solution right now, and that's why they're looking for it. Okay, so we've managed to do all of this. A couple of tips here. If you click on the cell, you are able to get all the cell details. You can click on Add as Column quickly and continue to add them as column. The second thing you can do is whenever you see company domains that is not as a link, let's say this was as a text and you were trying to copy paste and that's how you were doing it. If you quickly change it to a URL, you can just click on this button and it will open up in the new tab. That's insanely helpful. Second, if you press the control button, then it presses the control or command button, then it opens up. And the thing is, why I like to do this is, have you seen The Big Short, in which the guy, I don't remember the name of the guy, but he went into the data and he looked at things in granularity. So if you're running a campaign that has tens of thousands of records, ideally you want to look at least 10 random ones to see if the data is actually correct. You need to do your job as a human to, let's say, validate those things. All right, so we have found companies. What's the second step? Enrich companies.
All right, so this section is all about enriching companies. Really quickly, the two main reasons that users enrich companies within Clay. First, it's to qualify the companies and make sure that they are actually a good fit for their team to reach out to. And second is to find information they can use to personalize messages. Now, if you click on enrich data at the top right and you look at the company data points we have, you'll see there are really quite a few. But to hit on the first point of qualifying companies, let's say you have seen historically your company works best with companies who have raised a Series A, we have total funding here, who use Salesforce as their CRM, we have tech stack here, and then who also are over 10 million ARR in revenue, right? All three of these data points you can add to your table to qualify these companies and then help your team down your time on. Now, the second reason, which I mentioned, was personalization. So you may already be sending out personalized emails, and you may already be sending out automated personalized emails. But from what we've seen, there's quite a large number of companies who are sending either scaled messaging or manually personalizing emails, which is hard to do at scale. So in Clay, you can use these different data points as snippets in your messages, either as is or with AI. And what I mean by that is, for example, open jobs, you could find the total number of open engineer jobs at a company and just map that data point directly to your email. Or you could use some longer text, such as the company description, and you could feed this description to AI and then say, based off of this description, write me a one-liner about what the company does. Again, all of these data points can be used in many different ways, but the last big perk to mention with Clay here is that with Clay, you only need your Clay account to get access to all these different data points. So instead of needing one account for revenue data, another account for site traffic data, and a third account for fundraising data, right? You can use your Clay account and you can access all of these providers using Clay credits. This just keeps you from having to both find multiple tools, negotiate multiple contracts, and also hop between different places. So you really can orchestrate all of this company enrichment and other stuff down the line directly within Clay. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's basically the main reason why I find it so helpful. Because if you have a big company, let's say more than 1,000 employees, whenever you reach out to these providers, they'll end up charging you a lot more because they want to charge you as an enterprise company and they want to charge you for seats. Where really you just want the data in your CRM. You don't need it for anything else. And that's the biggest leverage I found for using Clay. I can use it in a credit fashion and I can integrate with tons of services. And part of this series is going to be showing you how to integrate with every enrichment on Clay. And slowly and steadily I'll show you in detail workflows of how you can, once you have
Right, so the first company level enrichment I want to show you is our LinkedIn company enrichment. So you'll see when you import companies from LinkedIn, you already get access to some really helpful information. However, let's say you were starting from a list from your CRM, or you were starting with just a list of CSVs that you imported into Clay, or even a list that you found using Clay's LinkedIn source. There's a lot of data from the LinkedIn company profiles that are not returned that would still be helpful both in qualifying and personalizing messages. So if you click Enrich Data and then select Enrich Company, you'll see there's a section to put an input for this enrichment. Now we've actually auto-mapped that input because we found that it already exists on this Clay table. But if you ever want to change that, you can select the column to use as the input here. Really important, the input for enrich company must be a company LinkedIn URL, company domain, sales nav URL, or sales nav company ID. If you do not have one of those already, you can also use Clay to find that. So for example, if all you have is company domains, you could first find the company, if all you have is company names, you could first use Clay to find the company domains. And then once you found the domains in Clay, you could then run this enrich company. So then when we click continue to add fields, these are all of the data points that you'll get access to. And so one to call out that I think is pretty important, employee count and company size. So employee count is the true number of employees who are linked to the company LinkedIn profile. Company size is just the range that the company will self-report. We've seen for smaller businesses or businesses who do not necessarily have a presence on LinkedIn, company size is actually going to be more accurate because they'll self-report the number, which may be much larger than the number of employees who would list themselves on the company page. Whereas for larger companies, these two are more often than not going to be a little bit closer. But having both the size and the count are going to be really helpful. Additionally, the address, primary address of the company, we've seen in the past is extremely helpful, as well as the founder date. And so when we click save and run the first 10 rows, it is going to run with just, again, the first 10 rows. The reason we do this is because we see it's actually often very helpful for people to test the integrations before running it for all companies. Especially if you have 10,000 companies on a table, you may want to test it. And you may want to be extra careful not to run this for 10,000 companies at once. Now, if you're happy with this, which in this case I'm going to say I am, just click on the run column button and we can run all rows that have not run or have errors. And you'll see what this does is it's going to queue up all of the rows in this column and all of the data is going to be passed over to here. This is just the first of many company enrichments, but again, it's one that's extremely popular because especially for the qualification piece, it gives you oftentimes much of what you need. Thanks so much.
Yep. Completely agree on that one. I've seen this multiple times when I've sort of run the entire company table. I've enriched it according to how I have, and I only put size of employees and not the employee headcount. I have had to face problems because ultimately you want to reach out to the people within those companies. So like this, right? This one says 51 to 200 employees or 11 to 50, right? And if you click on their LinkedIn URL, it may or may not be the case. And why is it important? Because you sort of assume certain people to be in those companies. If it's a 200-person company, there's for sure going to be an HR person. And those assumptions would end up killing you at the end. Because you want to reach out to someone at HR, you feel like, oh my God, they have 200 employees. They must have. So notice this, 11 to 50, they have 3. And out of those 3, you can't access these 2. There's only one guy. And within this guy, let's say what his title is. His title is chef. Now, if you want to reach out to the CEO or the founder of this, you won't be able to. You'll have to either go to their website and find a contact person. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Before running it, I would suggest, if you have access to a cheaper tool like Clay, export all of this and then use the filters on their search companies section to basically filter down and enrich the company that way. So this would be more helpful because I'm not going to get any information by reaching out to the chef. Now this one says 51 to 200, and if you notice, it's got 20 people working. Within those 20, let's say if you want to reach out to the founder, luckily in this one there's 3 co-founders that you can reach out to. So that's the sort of thing, that's the sort of stuff you need to do early on, very early on in your process, and not towards the end where you are finding people, looking for work emails. That sort of stuff should be at the end. And once you have the website, once you have the LinkedIn URLs, that's all you need to be able to enrich them into any other platform that you know or trust of. And I'm saying that because if you have access to 50,000 credits, the cost per credit comes out to $800 divided by 50,000. So it's going to be $0.16. If you have a tool that's going to do it cheaper for you, and it's going to be, let's say, effectively free for you, then you're much better off doing those enrichments in there. Because if you notice, if you have 10,000 companies, so 0.016 multiplied by 10,000, that's going to be $160 for you. And if you have, let's say, 20K, that's going to be $320 for you. But let's say you have a paid membership already. You've already paid for Apollo. You use it for scheduling emails. You use it to get cheaper data. You can use their search filter for free, and you can scrape using that, or you can export using their function. And maybe it's going to be cheaper for you. But yes, if you're trying to be scrappy and want to save money, these are the things that I would do. If you don't care about money, then, and you just care about, let's say, being able to do it in a streamlined fashion, then this is going to be the best bet.
The second enrichment that we've seen is really helpful is finding employee count by job title. So if you click enrich data and you search find employee count, here we go. And we actually have find employee headcount, by job title. Again, you'll have the input you need for this integration to run. And essentially what's happening here is that based off of the input, we're going to search our database for a match. And so we're using LinkedIn URL, which was automatically detected and mapped, but you can always change that. And then you have all of these different filters that you can put in. So you can actually use this for much more than just job title. For example, you could use this to see how many employees do they have outside the US. But I'm going to look for specifically employees who are in sales or have sales in their job title. And I also want to look for people who have been in their role for, let's say, at least 9 months. And then locations, I'm actually going to include the United States and make that a requirement. A bunch more filters you can add here, but when you click continue to add fields, you'll see you can toggle on role count, save and run first 10 rows. And again, it will be queued up and it will show us the full number of results. And whenever we are happy with this, we can click the play button that's going to pop up right here in just a second. All right, and then we can run all rows that haven't run or have errors. Additionally, if you wanted to test just a batch of more rows and not run all 1,500, if you click on the column and hover over run column, you can also say choose number of rows to run. And so we could say choose 10 rows, run 10 rows starting from row 11, right? And what this is going to do is run the next 10 rows.
That's it. And we spent 1 credit on that. There's got to be a better way. Yeah, this is much better. You can search for, if you're going to spend a credit, you're much better off finding contacts, because it's going to give you the same result. It's going to give you the number of people at least, and that's, I would say, much better, because you get more data for the same amount of cost. Okay, and employee count by job title is done. But one thing that I found really useful, by the way, find people by location. Yeah, this one, find employee headcount by country. This is going to be super helpful, and I'll tell you why. What else can we do? Okay. let's say I'm looking for companies that are remote and are well distributed. So what I would do is I would look for software engineers and think about it in the form of the copy you're going to write. Noticed you had software engineers in multiple locations throughout the globe, with XYZ person in location name, ABC person in location name, and 123 person in location name. I figured I figure having synchronous conversations can be a problem. Our tool solves that by making it easy to have asynchronous collaboration and stuff like that. So this is super helpful because if you are an SDR, you would go on that company, look for people, then sort by location, find people in different geographies, put that into an Excel sheet or your CRM, and then you would be able to send that sort of email out. With Clay, you can sort of do the research preemptively, and not only preemptively, you can set the column up once, connect it to your CRM, and do it for every single company in your CRM, which means now you have it run once, but you have access to all the companies in your CRM that are actually multinational, with 4 or more people working out of different geographies and different time zones. If you spend your next 3 months reaching out to them with targeted reach, you're much more likely to book a meeting with them or get their business, because they meet the niche within the niche of your uh, ICP. They're the ones who really need your solutions.
All right, so if all you have is company names, not a problem. Within Clay, you can run a few different enrichments to automatically find the company domains. So all you need to do is click on Enrich Data in the top right, and under Company Data, you'll see we have this domain data point. When you click on this, we actually have a waterfall at the top, which is typically what I would recommend using. So a waterfall will use multiple different providers to find whatever data point it is that you're looking for. So in this case, first, we're going to try to use Clearbit to find the domain. If Clearbit does not work, we will then use Google. This will happen automatically. You don't need to switch between different tools. Um, and it just helps simplify the entire process and increase your coverage because we're using multiple providers. So to get started here, all you need to do is add the input. So for this one, it requires a company name. So we're going to map the entire company name column into here. To do that, just click here and you can select on the company name column. And now when we click Save and Run first 10 rows, you'll see it creates both of these integration columns. And Clearbit, in this case, actually found all of them on its own. And so these are all free. And now we have a column with company domains. Oftentimes, too, this company domain column is really all you need to unlock a lot of these other enrichments. And so if you're starting with company names, maybe that is from your CRM, or maybe you attended an event and all you got was the names, as opposed to manually finding this or jumping between tools, you can quickly add this enrichment to turn those names into domains. Thanks so much.
Yeah. I personally know a lot of people who hire virtual assistants to do this work for them, but this is actually super helpful. Um, Unfortunately, I don't know what happened here. So if you have the name of the company, the way you would find it is search using Google or search using Clearbit. And earlier, when this wasn't there, what I would do is I would Google search. I would search for company name. So I have the company name. Let's say I have the company name in a list. I would have the company name plus LinkedIn and put this in quotes. And that's it. A number of results. Let's say 5. And once the Google search is performed, I would manually add a filter into the link search results. And the link search result would be, yeah, that's exactly it. Now, if you notice something, in.linkedin is what you get when you search for the company. Now, sometimes you can do two things. You can either you can either filter using company, because every LinkedIn search that you have for a company will have company in its URL. Or the second thing you can do is so you notice Denny Tendine, he's maybe, let's say, the CEO of the company. Wait, what is this company name, man? We were looking at this. Pushka. Oh, okay. Makes sense. And that's the way. You get the LinkedIn, you get the LinkedIn profile this way. And if you want to be extra sure, and if you want to be extra cautious, you can have a formula that says accurate LinkedIn company URL. And you can say if /URL is empty, then output slash, what was the name that we figured out finally? Yeah, link search results is empty, and slash link search results contains company, then output this. Else output slash else if. Else if URL is, if URL does not contain, actually it will contain always. If URL is not equal to, is not equal to, then output the LinkedIn search result. No, you don't want that. You want then output URL. So if you notice, what's happening here is I'm searching for the URL that I got from LinkedIn enrichment. If it's going to be empty, I'll just enrich and put the LinkedIn search company in it. In case it's not empty, I'll compare the two, and out of the two, if URL is not empty and if it is not equal to this one, LinkedIn search results, I'm going to output the URL because I trust Clay's enrichment to be better than Google search. So you can sort of have these if-else statements and make your process more refined so that the possibility of error goes down. So we have this here. Let's see, what are we getting? Instagram. Oops. URL is there. LinkedIn.com. Company Instagram. Why is it empty then? If URL is empty and contains company, then output this. Else if is not equal to, oh, we forgot to put in the third condition. What if they are equal? Else if is equal to then output this. Now this should, yep. Woohoo! Now if you notice, between this column and this column, we have more coverage here. The ones within this, we were able to get into here. Let's read them now. All of them have company in it. And this made my data better. Coolsies. Oh, why is it not working? Loom refused to connect? Why? Oh no. Company revenue, okay. So company revenue, I haven't found a very accurate result for it yet. But people care a lot about it because you want to see if they can afford your product or not. And I would say if you really want that information, because these are very expensive sources, 8 credits and 10 credits, you're much better off talking to their sales team and asking for an API integration if you really, really require it. Yeah, we went through this. Find people. Okay.
All right, so this section is all about finding people in Clay. There's really two main scenarios that we'll go over in this section. The first is if you have an account list and you're looking specifically for titles or people depending on criteria from those different accounts. The second scenario is you want to just jump straight into finding people. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this in Clay, but typically finding people is the first step to then finding someone's email, right? Once we have the person's LinkedIn profile or their name and domain, we can then find their email. So in this section, I will cover how to find people starting from scratch. So that's if you have no account list, how to find people if you do have an account list, and then also how to find people if you are looking for people who work more so in the local business area. Thanks so much.
Maybe I should write this down, what my step is like. Oops. Oops. First step. Let's have this list on. This is very, very. I hate this process. Man. Why is this so difficult? Okay. You win, Google. You win. Okay, so the first step is getting my lead list ready. So if my lead list is, let's say I have verified emails and I trust them, good to go. If I don't have verified emails, actually let me build this out in Whimsical. This is going to be useful. Okay. Yeah, this is the one that we want. We want one of this. Let's say step 1. The figure create lead list. Then Step 1, create lead list. Step 2, verify the lead list. Now within step 1, there's multiple steps, by the way. And that is 1.1. Find companies. In 1.1.1, it is find companies based on firmographic data / technographic data. Then 1.1.1.2 is enrich those companies to filter out the non-ICP companies. Let's say have less people, less than 200 employees, etc. Now, think about it this way, right? You would ideally like to reach out to companies that are using Salesforce, but then you download that and you see, oh my god, these have a lot of people that are over 10,000, and my product can't really work for any company that's more than 1K. So what I would do is then remove all the companies that are above 1,000 employees or above 150 salespeople. That would make your target list for companies more useful and more worthwhile. Then enrich those companies. 1.1.3 would be to find people within those companies to reach out to. And then 1.2 would be to filter the people you want to reach out to per company. Basically segment the list based on the copy. Then 1.3 would be to find emails. Find emails of the people you want to reach out to. Done. Then comes step 2, verify lead list using email verifier. Then step 3 would be to look up. So let's say you started with 10,000 companies, you were able to filter it down to, let's say, 7,000 companies. From the 7,000 companies, you were able to find the relevant people. You were able to find, let's say, 3 per company, so 21,000 people you were able to find. Within those 21,000 people, you were then able to filter it down to 18,000 people. And now finally, after everything has been verified, you have a lead list ready of 15,000 people you can reach out to with validated emails. Now what you want to do is now you want to look up the record of the company these people came from. And that's for free in Clay. Once you have that, you want to run the integrations and run the research then on the company. Because if you do it at the first stage itself, you're going to end up wasting a lot of credits. You ideally want to do all the research only for the company you can ultimately reach out to, or the decision maker you can finally reach out to. Once you have the lookup record for the company these people came from, then step 4 would be, and this is different. I'm talking about the first step was for filtering down your ICP. Step 4 is going to be the research on the company. Now it may be similar to the stage 1, or it will have something else. Step 4 will be research on the company. And that's where these things sort of overlap. Let's say you have firmographic data. You want to reach out to companies that use Salesforce and have less than 150 sales people working in the team. Now, step 4 research would be any news about the company. Looks like you're going through a recent merger. Looks like you just hired 4 more SDRs. So now you want to find signals that you can personalize your copy for. Now, once you have, that's what research on the company essentially is. Looks like you have 4 people working outside of London. How are you handling benefits for them? Looks like you are going to hire remote workers in United States, but you currently only have one person on the software development team. Maybe you need what's it called? Maybe now you need to consider having a tech enablement tool, or what's it? A security. What's it? Use Cipher. What was it called? Use Cipher. Cipher.com. Okay. I'm forgetting the name. Basically, whatever service you're selling, there's some signals that you ideally have based on the current customers. And you need to do the research to then reach out to with purpose and relevancy. And you want to do that with the least amount of credits possible. After the research on the company has been done, then you want to write your copy for it. Segment the list based on the message you want to reach out to with. Create the messages using Clay, or create the messages or the placeholders for variables. So Clay, and push to your CRM if you want your SDRs to send them out, CRM or email scheduler. I usually send them out to Smart Leads and just run the campaign. And that would be my process. Okay, cool. Finding people, we just saw that. And then find people from LinkedIn. Oh wait.
Right, so let's say you don't have an account list,
We weren't able to run that Loom, right? Because it didn't connect earlier.
Right, so this section is all about finding people in Clay. There's really 2 main scenarios that we'll go over in this section. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can do this in Clay, but typically finding people is the first step to then finding someone's email, right? Once we have the person's LinkedIn profile or their name and domain, we can then find their email. So in this section, I will cover how to find people starting from scratch. So that's if you have no account list, how to find people if you do have an account list, and then also how to find people if you are looking for people who work more so in the local business area. Thanks so much.
I think we saw that.
All right, so let's say you don't have an account list and your audience is pretty broad. If that's the case, you don't necessarily need to find companies first and then find people. What you can actually do is click New Table, and you can click on the Find People from LinkedIn source. This allows you to jump straight to finding people based off of things like job title, experience, bio, and more. So, for example, let's look for engineers who have, let's say, AI in one of their experiences. And let's say they must be in the current role for at least 12 months, and we want to find people who are located in the United States, right? I'd say this fill also specifically for recruiters is typically popular. We also have the ability to limit the number of results, the number of people per company, as well as add a bunch of other filters here. But when we click Preview People, this is going to generate just a really quick preview of the first 50 people. And then if we were to import the search to a new table, we would get all of these people. So you'll see, here's the first 50. We can check out their LinkedIn profiles here. And if we click Import People to New Table, you can toggle on enrichments if you want, but these will run for every row. So I'm going to continue without.
Now, if you notice
And
there, you've
we
got sales
now have
engineers
a
as
table
well.
that's going to start to populate with 2,500 different
So if
AI
you're
engineers in the space.
targeting
Another,
specifically,
really quickly, another popular flow for finding people from LinkedIn is to identify LinkedIn influencers. So something really cool that you can do here is
follower
under
count.
profile, you can limit the number of followers. You can set a minimum for the number of followers. So let's say you wanted to find people who have at least 20,000 followers, and in their bio, let's find people who are talking about sales, right? If we preview the people, oops, let me actually add location as United States. Right. So if we click preview people, I'll show you some of these results, but Clay actually has used this ourselves to find these influencers in the past. We can see, open up a few of these. Right. These are all people with pretty substantial followings, and they also happen to work in sales. And so from this, we would then start a campaign that's, potentially trying to work with some of these sales influencers on some different projects. So yeah, thank you so much. In the next section, we'll talk a little bit more about finding people if you already have a list of companies.
Yeah, that's a great one, by the way, for strategic partnerships and having people on your podcasts and growing your own sort of LinkedIn. I would say that's a great partnership campaign to run.
All right, so this video is all about finding people if you already have a company list. So this could be all you need to run a people search is the company domain or the company LinkedIn URL. You just need one of those two. If you have a column with one of those two in your table, just click the big blue Find People button in the top right. So what this does is first, it identifies that column with, again, either the LinkedIn URL or the company domain. And it will auto-recognize this. But if you wanted to change this to domain, for example, let's just say you had more domains, you could switch this to domains. But up here, you'll see the number of companies that it identified. So it says, hey, we found 1,508 companies in this table with LinkedIn URL, LinkedIn company URL. And then what we can do here is we can start to input some of the different filters that we want. So let's say we're looking for growth or marketing or sales. And then let's exclude intern, let's exclude associate, and specialist. We can limit the location to the United States. We could add additional filters, right, if we wanted to as well, for like number of connections or what school they went to. And the last thing to point out, which this one I'd say is quite important, you can also limit the number of people per company. So if you ever have, for example, a really large company like HubSpot on your list, and you were to put in growth, marketing, or sales, HubSpot alone might have 1,000 people that fit that title match. And so what you can do here is limit it to, let's say, 5 people per company. That way, when you are enriching these people and then also eventually uploading them to your CRM or your email sequencer, you're not accidentally reaching out to 1,000 people at one time. So definitely pay attention to this limit per company. And again, this is going to generate a preview.
I would add additional things to this, because most enterprise companies have a server-wide blacklist. So let's say you reach out to 8 or 12, depending on the rules on their server list, within a day. It's going to blacklist your domain. That's going to reduce your domain reputation. Secondary, you can't reach out to them again within the next 6 months. So if you really want to, let's say, target Coca-Cola or Microsoft, you don't want to reach out to more than 3 people in 1 month or in 1 week, and that from one single domain. You can use other domains to reach out to, but that's the point. LinkedIn is far less severe on this, so you can send connection requests on LinkedIn to those people and you won't get banned, but that limit per company is really helpful. The only thing I wanted to maybe have more clarity on is, when you put a limit per company, is it possible to put a limit using the priority scale? Let's say I only want to reach out to VP and above. So when I put in the limit, is it the limit gonna take any 3, or is it gonna be the top down approach? So first it'll check for a CEO. If it doesn't have a CEO, it'll go on to a co-founder. If I get the co-founder, then it'll go on to another C-suite executive. If it doesn't have a C-suite executive, it'll go to director, and then VP. If not VP, then head. So that way I get maximum coverage and maximum decision making power for the emails I'm sending out to. Or if it's, let's say, at the end there's 15 VPs, so will it just take all the VPs and none of the people at head, director, or C-suite executive level? That's something I'd like more clarity on from Clay, but everything else is great so far.
Review. And so we'll see we've got a few different titles here for these first 50 companies. And when we click import people to a new table, we could toggle these on. So fully enriched profile will pull everything from the person's LinkedIn profile, personal email, work email, mobile phone number, self-explanatory. But again, if you toggle this on, it will automatically run for every single person that is imported. And so if you first want to do some qualification first and filter the list down, I'd recommend leaving this off and continuing to run without any of these enrichments. That way you can do your filtering first and then conditionally run things like find work email or find phone number. But you'll see this table is starting to generate. One thing to call out, company tables and people tables are separated, but they are also connected. And so let's say we wanted to pull in some of the company information. Just click on any of these cells here, and you'll see all of the company information from your company table exists here. And so if you wanted to add the company description as a column, just click create column. And the nice thing here is that every person that works at the same company is going to have the same company information matched. Again, this works with any of these company level properties. If you ever update your company table, just make sure you click run. You can just force run this column again. This is just going to look up all of the new information that may be added to that table. But from there, you should be all set to go. Thanks.
That's really useful, guys. That's the undervalued enrichment in Clay. Because if you notice in here, after the third step, you would have found the people, you would have added them into it, you would have the company table data. Once you go back and enrich the company and do the research on the company and add all the columns in, then hit the force run all rows, then you're going to have all the data populated for the people tab as well. And that's really important because you're able to save costs. Now, if you notice, they've got 5 people per company. Now, imagine if I ran those enrichments within the people tab. That same row would have run 5 times. So I'm just reducing the cost by 5x by doing the research on the company and then pushing the data into the people table later on. And you ideally want to save costs because that's always a benefit, right? You maximize your ROI. And it's not that much work. Like, it's going to take you at max 30 more minutes because you're anyway going to build those enrichments
Right.
out.
So this video is all about finding people for small businesses specifically. Now, if you didn't watch the video about finding these small businesses themselves, I'm just going to quickly walk you through why this flow is different. So, for example, we've got main chick, hot chick. Look up, let's say, founder or CEO. Right? The founder actually exists on LinkedIn. Now, the problem is that the company does not exist on LinkedIn. And this is super common for, extremely common for what the company does not. That's important is because typically when you're LinkedIn company, right, we would look for companies who have these domains, and then we would try to find people who are matched to those domains. Now, these companies don't have profiles, and so the process is a little. Scroll down, we actually have this recipe here called SMBs, find and verify decision makers plus contact information. So what this is going to do, it's going to do actually a lot of things in the back end, but we've made this into a recipe so it's easier to work with. It's actually going to find and enrich the person from a Google search. And so it's going to look up I just did pretty much. It's going to say founder or CEO of website, and it's going to limit the results to LinkedIn. And then it's going to use AI to confirm that that person is actually the right match and is the current match. And then it's going to find the work email for that person. And so if you go into the inputs, it's business name and business website. So in the input box, just type /. So when I type this, I can select the business name column, and I've got that. I think it's called title. Yep. And then business website column. So type / and I can put in the website. Now, if I go ahead and run this, you'll see it just made this first column. That's going to find the person. It made the second column, which is going to use AI. And then this third column, which is going to find the emails. Third, fourth, fifth column to find the emails. Really quick too, just so you can see how this is working under the hood. If we click on edit column, it's looking for company name plus CEO or founder or owner. If you want to change these keywords, you're welcome to. You would just change whatever's inside of these quotation marks. This works like a typical advanced Google search, so there's some more information about that here. But we could add more keywords, partner, manager, etc. And this will just increase the search. But you can see we actually found the lovely Kevin of the best chicken restaurant, hot chicken sandwich restaurant. We found the lovely Kevin, right? And we were not able to find their email with these first two. If you can't find the email with these first two, just click enrich data, go to, let's look up the work email waterfall, right? And we can run just a bunch more integrations from here to find their email. So yeah, hope this is helpful. Again, it's all pretty templated for you. But for local businesses, make sure you use this flow as opposed to the standard LinkedIn find people flow. Thanks.
So far, when I'm looking at my data, these two people are all the wrong ones. How do I know that? Where is it taking the title from? Because when you look at this guy, he doesn't live in India. So if he doesn't live in India, how does he have? Yeah, he lives in the United States. There's no way he has a cafe in India, right? Except this person sounds Indian, yep, and she lives in India. More likely to be the co-founder. So I'd like to see how that's searching. Or maybe we can make it more useful. So we're taking the title of the company. Ooh, that's how it's doing it. Yeah, we want to do it some other way. Because let's see if it works now. Yes, much better. Nice. Let's see if this person lives in India or not. Global citizen, okay, could be the one running this place. Now just from this I know that it's working better than before. Yep, Cafe Rasa, Malaysia, okay. But this guy lives in London. And that's the essential problem here. You're taking a big guess by using the search function. No, all wrong. Only one was fine. This woman could be the one of Cafe Manzo. But everybody else is for sure not it. I wouldn't recommend using this for local businesses because it's not working well for me. This needs to be more. So I would add so no, yes. Master of Vibes. Okay, let's look at these two. Maybe it is working well. We just didn't give it a chance. No, that's wrong. Costa Rica. No, that's wrong as well. %90 match or more. Double check your answer. Let's look at this guy. This is the only correct one. But how did we get him? CEO or founder or owner? I would never use this. There are too many errors in this. Okay, on to the next. Find people, enrich companies, enrich people is done. People data enrichment. What else is there? I'm getting tired from sitting down for so long. I'm gonna take a break.
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Novoslavsky from Clay.com, and today we're going to go over how to get started. Go check out one of our. That's where Clay comes in. So,
This looks
a
like
free
an
single
older
person's
version of
LinkedIn
Clay.
profile, and then just throwing them in keywords, and just powerful function with go really hard about putting all of them into our first email, and then our second, third, fourth email are all kind of just follow-ups. So breakup email, and I hate calling it that because I really don't.
Okay, we'll look at this email
Most
again.
part to show
Look at
that
this video
Clay
again.
can.
But I'm tired for now. I'm gonna take a break. Thank you for sticking around for so long.